When I was a younger prosecutor, I saw a prosecutor as an arm of law enforcement. The police make the arrests, and then it was our job to follow through with those cases and ensure that the person who was arrested was convicted and sentenced. It was just that simple. My name is Risa Lanier, and I'm Chief of the Criminal Prosecutions Bureau for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. I am a native of Chicago. I grew up on the South Side. I've lived on the South Side my entire life. My stepfather was a Chicago police officer in the 9th District out of the Bridgeport neighborhood. So I had a dual understanding of the purpose of the police. From my stepfather's perspective of public safety and of keeping the neighborhood safe and keeping the streets safe. But then again, on the other hand, also growing up in a Black community, understanding our perspective, and when I say our, the community's perspective of police officers. 5 years in, at the State's Attorney's Office, I started felony review. The very first case that I had was a first-degree murder case. This is the first time I've actually been at a crime scene. There was blood spatter. I'm walking around carefully, trying not to step in things. This is the first time that I've been confronted with someone who is deceased. It's one thing to see it in the pictures. It's another thing to actually walk through that and the impact of that. The offender was claiming self-defense. And so it was important for us to not only take a look at the crime scene, but to also take a look at the body of the deceased to determine whether or not the placement of the wounds would support a theory of self-defense. We went back and sat in the room and had a conversation with someone who was accused of murder. And that was the first time I'd ever done that. It would not be the last, but it was certainly the first time. And I sat in that room across from someone not much older than I was, also from the city of Chicago, also from the inner city, and had to have a conversation about the actions that led to the death of this other person. We did not recommend charges. We did find that this was a case of self-defense. That was the first time I really understood the power that we have as state's attorneys. We have the power to bring charges, which will completely change someone's life. The power to proceed on certain charges over others, which would mean either a higher sentence or a lower sentence. And the power to reject charges, which means that someone who is arrested will then be uncuffed and get to walk out of the police station. And understanding what that means for not only that person and their family, but the victim and the victim's family. When I moved into the trial division, you began to see different sorts of offenders. Those who are addicted to drugs, those who suffer from mental illness, who were not just charged with violent crimes, but lower level felonies. And so while we're not social workers, we're certainly looking at cases through a different lens, so that when we do make those decisions on our cases, we are considering how this will impact the community as a whole.